So, Mr. Prithvi Raj, would you please tell us something about yourself and some briefing about your profession?
Hi Sonia, first of all, thanks a lot for inviting me. It's a pleasure to join you for this session and introducing myself. I mean, there are a lot of things about me, but I think I'll keep it to the professional front. So this is Prithvi here. I mean, you'll be glad to know that I just finished college a few months ago, and it's been 1.5 years that I'm working in this space. So I'm working in the CNCF space as a cloud native community manager, open source community manager for a project called LitmusChaos, which is based on chaos engineering. I mean, that's a lot of detail about it, but yeah, I mean, community management wasn't a passion of mine. I was really intrigued to go into acting or politics. I mean, not that we are having an interview about that here, but I'm having avid interest in acting and arts and all that. But yeah, it's been 1.5 years. I'm part of the technical world, and it's been something around it. But there are many things about me. A few things that are apart from being a community manager or being a part of the technical world is that I love sports. I mean, I'm an avid fan of sports, football, cricket, you name it. And obviously, other than that, my hobbies include collecting coins, and I write stuff. I've been featured in a few books, anthologies for sure. So yeah, I love writing stuff, and poetry and art
Glad to
is
hear that.
yeah.
So, what made you choose this profession particularly?
See, first of all, there are a lot of students out there, especially from the engineering background, who don't want to take up a role which is based on, completely coding or on the technical front. So I was always looking forward to a role which was non-technical based, which was not from the engineering background, and I wanted to do something different. And when this position came for hiring, I was like, I don't want this. Maybe what is it? I had no idea about it. I was totally new to this position of a community manager, and I can claim right now, whoever is will be watching this. I mean, a community manager is very rare out there. So it was new for me as well. And then I just applied for the job, and I was already working as a sales and marketing intern for another company. And then this came up, and I did a lot of R&D about this role and what exactly this is, what can I do here, how does my skill set actually match with what a community manager is. And usually there are very few companies who are, I mean, there are very few companies who have good community managers as of now, but this role is an upcoming role. I mean, I have discussed with so many people out there who are, I mean, who are way more experienced than me in this field itself, not just community managers, but those who are CEOs and CEOs of companies which are requiring community managers. And this is not just a marketing role, but it involves a techno marketing functionality to it. So that is how, I mean, I got attracted to the job description or the KPIs that were put out for me, and then I applied, and I'm lucky to be part of this journey from 1.5 years now.
So, could you please elaborate on what is CNCF and why is it needed?
Of course, of course. So CNCF is a foundation that was founded a few years ago. I mean, it gives platforms to a lot of open source cloud native projects that are out there. I mean, as you might know, the cloud world is the future. I mean, people talk about ML and AI and so many things, but I think cloud is the future for tomorrow. I mean, people need to understand that what are the technologies that come alongside the cloud computing world, the cloud native world. And that is why CNCF was found, which gave a platform to these upcoming projects which are coming up and are developed by so many companies. I mean, you name it, Red Hat, Google, Apple, or there are so many companies, SAP Labs, Dell. They are working behind so many projects for different functionalities. It can be on database, it can be on security, it can be on development or policies. So these projects needed one body or one foundation to guide them, to give them platform, to help them develop, to give them various, I mean, stages. There are various levels: sandbox, incubation, graduating. So these projects are under the guidance of CNCF, which is the main foundation. And then these projects develop under it. CNCF organizes events around the year, which is called KubeCon. I mean, that's their flagship event, but there are so many events, and CNCF is part of the Linux Foundation. So CNCF is basically an ecosystem where all these projects thrive and all these projects develop, and then it also provides opportunities to ambassadors of the technologies or to people who are basically shifting to the cloud native part of things. So whoever, because cloud native is the future, so I think founding this sort of a foundation so early has been a boon to the industry, to be honest. And this is how a lot of people from the, I mean, monolithic world, or you would say from the world which existed without Kubernetes or which existed without cloud native technologies, is shifting to the paradigm with the help of CNCF.
Okay.
So yeah, in short, that's what CNCF is.
Okay. So as in career aspect, why should people get into this? Would you?
I mean, see, as I mentioned initially, people focus on AI ML a lot, but AI ML is not the only. I mean, this is specific to the ones who are from the technical or engineering background, but I wouldn't say that it should be specific to them. If you are interested in, you know, some part of cloud native technologies, then this is for you. And even Google Summer of Code or the Linux Foundation both are promoting students to join this platform. So from a career perspective, I mean, this is the future. This is where a lot of, you know, research is being put to, and there is a lot to explore, to be honest. The world which is yet to be explored is something where students should go, right? So instead of focusing on few worlds which have already been explored, like the AI ML world or the IoT world or the cybersecurity world, or there are so many things that are already present and that have already been discovered and invented. But the CNCF world, I think, has a lot of opportunities, has a lot of, I mean, with opportunity comes laurels, and with laurels also comes the pay factor, because people are looking to develop in terms of, you know, getting lucrative packages. And a lot of companies, I mean, the even from the investors perspective, the investors which are out there in the west, or I mean, whoever is wanting in the San Francisco Bay Area, they are wanting to invest in such technologies. And so I think this is something one should consider as a future. Not a lot of people are aware of it, to be honest. A lot of colleges are not at all aware what the CNCF world is, or how students can come into it. But slowly with the Google Summer of Code, Google Summer of Docs, and Outreachy program, LFX program, students are getting to know about it, and they are joining in as interns or mentees basically. And then companies are also coming. I mean, to name a few in India itself, I think Chaos Native, Signos, InfraCloud, or I mean, there are so many. VMware is stressing so much on CNCF technologies. Red Hat, I mean, it just was born out of Kubernetes. So I think this is the future, and people need to start considering it as one.
All right. So would you please highlight on the skills that are needed for as being a community manager? What you think is more important? So please mention that.
See, I mean, initially, even I wasn't aware what are the skills that are required, but slowly, as I started understanding the community and what exactly this role was about. So I think what is very important is understanding the project first. A community manager, let's say, community managers are required for each and every project that are out there. Google required it for Google Cloud, or you know, Twitter requires it for its product, and there are so many projects which require a community manager. So it's important to understand the project. It's important to understand the foundation and the basic principles. It's important to understand the history. That is on the project front, but it's also important to understand the audience. So as a community manager, what you are is a representative of the project to the community, and vice versa. You act as a bridge between the community and the product managers, or the basically the stakeholders of the project who are maintaining the project or who are building it. So it's very important for you to bring feedback, as act as a feedback, obviously feedback system, build a feedback system. And also it's very important to bring new ideas for the community. Let's say, I mean, what does a community want? How can the project develop? Because the developers can be the best, the project can be developed into the best way, but if it's not being put out for the users, if the users are not getting to know what exactly is happening and how, and if the maintainers or if the project builders are not able to know that what exactly are the people wanting, then I think it's again miscommunication and a waste of a lot of resources. So I think a community manager needs to understand what's going on in the real world, and it requires a little bit of technical knowledge. I mean, I won't say a lot of it because there's no coding involved, but then again it requires a community manager to understand what is happening in the technical world, what is let's say I am part of the CNCF ecosystem, so it requires me to understand what exactly is happening in the ecosystem, right? And then secondly, there are so many things a community manager does. He or she curates events, brings in blogs. I mean, it's also a lot of logistics that are involved. I mean, as a community manager, I have to approach external community members who are not part of my team to write blogs, curate content, or part of my team to bring the content out to the people who are looking forward to it. So I think it's a mix of both of it. And then lastly, integrations. I mean, let's say you have a project, let's say, I mean, Facebook or I mean WhatsApp, and you Facebook or WhatsApp needs to be integrated with some sort of project which is out there. Let's say a project based on video calling or something else, which facilitates a new functionality to the project itself. So it's also about talking a lot with people out there, being the face of the project, and then bringing in integrations, and eventually that helps you bring customers as well. I mean, I'm not involved in marketing or sales, but as I mentioned, it's a techno marketing role. So being a community manager, you are also ending up being one of those people who's selling indirectly, but he is. So I think that brings a lot of, I mean, goodwill to the company, or helps the company eventually develop. Although I'm not directly doing anything for the company, but I can just tell you this one thing, that my company is a startup. I work at Chaos Native Inc. So which spun out of my data, which again a startup based on data, cloud native data management. But then we were focusing on this particular technology called chaos engineering, and then this became a company itself, which was rare, but which is amazing. I mean, people talk about it, that how can a project become a company, and it was only because of the community efforts. So I think people out there obviously are looking for such skills, and if you can develop them, then it's going to be great.
Okay, so would you please tell us what has been your experience working as a community manager?
I mean, it's been surreal for sure, because I mean, when I started off, I swear I hate to be an engineer, or I didn't want to be an engineer, and being part of the technical world has been something I have feared since I think the past 2-3 years. I don't want to be an engineer, perhaps something else. But being a community manager, I have understood that there are so many things an engineer can do as well. There are so many things that can be brought out, and I think the experience has been good, because I have at such a, I mean, I'm just 22, and at such an age I have been able to represent my company at various conferences, global meetups, and then join so many college events as well. I mean, I am part of a tier 2 college, KIIT Odisha, KIT University, and then universities like NIT or BITS, or so many universities have been inviting me to deliver talks there, and it's obviously, to be honest, it's still feels like a dream to me. And then I have been able to interact with so many CEOs, and top level people from, I don't want to name any companies, but from mainstream big Indian companies which everyone knows, to the next gen startups that are out there. So it's been a great experience, and I think, I mean, being part of the CNCF ecosystem and a community manager both have acted as a plus plus. But I think even if you are either of it, there are so many opportunities. A community manager's role is such a sought after role. I mean, I shouldn't be saying this, but on record, that there are so many people who just reach out to you that, listen, we are giving you a job, when are you leaving the company, come join us. So that's also part of making you feel proud, and comes with being a community manager for sure.
So any advices that you want to give us for our future aspirants?
Sure. I mean, the first advice that I would like to give is understand the role. There are very few people who are part of this industry or who understand this role. So if you understand this role and make it as one of the roles that you want to be taking up for your future, then I think the road is pretty beautiful for you there. And then obviously it also involves certain amount of social outreach, being an extrovert. So there are a lot of people who are out there who are still introverts. I mean, engineering is one part of it, gaining bookish knowledge is one, but being an extrovert, trying to put it out there to the community members or to people, basically talking to them becomes difficult for a lot of people. And even from the developer perspective, I would say, I mean, I am a community manager, but I'm working with a lot of developers, right? But they do not have that amount of I mean, they are not that extrovert that they'll go out and talk to people. A very few are. So if you can just work hard on that and just be confident, and just apply your skills in projecting or presenting the project, talking to people and bringing their feedback, then I think that will be, obviously, if you aspire to be a community manager, it will be really, really helpful for you. And then obviously you can feel free to reach out to me anytime if you want. I can drop in my LinkedIn, perhaps LinkedIn profile,
Yes.
and you can just check them out when this video
It'll
comes
be in
out.
the
But
description box below.
yeah, so I think that'll also, I'll be more than grateful to help you out.
So thank you so much for sharing your experiences and thoughts with us, and for taking us to a small world of CNCF, and for sharing those information with us too. Of course, it is informative for all of us, and our audience will be very thankful for you for this. Thank you for your time. So would you like to say something?
Thanks a lot, Sonia. I mean, it's been a pleasure these few minutes. I think the questions were really good, and I hope that this video can help a lot of people, whoever is seeing this interview. And I hope that people actually take up CNCF and community management. I mean, this role requires a lot of people or a lot of advocates. So being an advocate for a community manager, it's been a pleasure, and you are doing a great job with all that you are doing, trying to put it out amongst people, amongst basically the youngsters who are aspiring for various roles and various ecosystems. I think you're doing a great job, and keep it up. Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.